Welcome everybody, welcome back to Homestead Heart. I'm still outside. Remember I said I was about to do a series of videos, different topics that's all stemming from some recent events that happened here on our farm. You know, in the previous video I talked about how we were just moments away from our house burning down. You all, according to the power company and according to our electrician, it was about to get real bad real fast, and we had no idea. We literally had no clue. We had no signs, we had no warning. There was no reason for us to suspect the issues that we were having. We had no reason to believe that it was going on at that time, right? If you didn't see that video, I'll post it at the end of this one so you can kind of get caught up and see what it is that I'm talking about. This video is in line with that, but I'm telling you all the reason why we were able to make that happen so fast. I'm really I'm sharing some information that's just a little personal. You know, some things we don't really talk about, right? But finances, right? Finances. Everybody struggles with their finances. You know, we all are. But I'm going to tell you something. Having an emergency fund, you know, we got that idea from His and Her Money. His and Her Money. If you've never ever been on their channel, they have the most wonderful channel, in my opinion, talking about finances and getting out of debt and all of that, right? I just enjoy watching their channel, right? His and Her Money. And I've been watching them for a long time, actually. In fact, I was familiar with those two sisters. They're twins, and I've been familiar with them for, man, over 10 years or so, longer, probably way longer than that, because they used to be avid couponers, right? May still be, you know, the twins. So Ty is her name on His and Her Money, and her husband is Talent, and they always are talking about finances, and they would even talk about having an emergency fund. And if you go over and check their channel out, please let them know that we sent y'all over there, and that you know, we really appreciate them, because I'm gonna be honest with you, you all, just listening to them talk about in their older videos the importance of having an emergency fund. And that's what we started doing about a year ago, maybe, I want to say. Yeah, just about a year ago, we realized, you know what, we really, wait a minute, it had to be a little better than a year, because it was right after the tornado hit, right? So we really need to have an emergency fund for things, you know, because when our roof got messed up, we didn't have the money to fix that roof. We just didn't, you know. Even if we wanted to fix it ahead of time and then let the insurance company reimburse us, we did not have the money to do that. We could not afford that, right? So our roof went undone for a very long time, even while we were in a fight with the insurance company, because they did not want to help us. They did not want to help us, right? And so we realized, you know what, we really do. And I was telling Mr. H about His and Her Money. I'm like, we really do need to start an emergency fund. And we immediately went to work on putting together an emergency fund. And so I know, you know, some of you are going to say, you know what, I don't have money for an emergency fund. Well, we didn't either. To be honest, we did not either. Well, where did we find it at? Well, anytime we felt like, hey, we're going to run to town and do such and such and such. Well, can that wait until you go to work maybe, and then on your way home you stop and you get what we need to get when you're on your way, because you coming through town anyway, instead of waiting till the weekend to do it. I know we really like to hang out together and spend time together on Mr. H's off days and stuff, but we really got to a point where we were like, you know what, we can't do that, because that money that we're going to be spending in gas to go to town on the weekends, that is money that we can use to put in our emergency fund. And then when you're on your way from work in the evening, and I know he'd be tired, and he know he'd be tired and stuff, but that's how we had to find ways to be creative, to put money to the side. I don't care if it was $20, $30, it doesn't matter. Sometimes Mr. H would get these from the type of work that he does. Sometimes people would give them gift cards and stuff like that, and when they do, for like the holidays, they would give them gift cards and stuff. When they do, we would take the cash off of it and put it in our emergency fund, instead of buying the potato chips and buying so much ice cream. Well, let's take some of that and put it in an emergency fund. We had to find ways to be creative, to really look at what it is that we can hold back spending on, and take that money and put it in an emergency fund, because we never know when we are gonna need it. You need an emergency fund. You need an emergency fund. If the starter goes out, if the carburetor goes out, if you just add up all of the potato chip money over a 1 year period, if you just add up all of the Starbucks money over a 1 year period, add up all the money where you go and have, you might buy a 6-pack or something, right? To relax your nerves, right? At least that's what I hear. I don't know, because I don't do that. But you have to find ways to be creative. You have to find ways to be creative to start that emergency fund, which is what Mr. H and I had to do. And I'm gonna be honest with you. Oh, that power box, to get that power box fixed, costed us $1,500, right? Yeah. And had we not started saving well over a year ago, April, May, June, July, August, September, yeah, a year and 5 months or so, if we had not started saving, you all, we would not have had that money. And actually, they initially said it could be in upwards of nearly $4,000, because they thought that they would have to go inside and replace the wires on the inside too, where that, I think I got a crook in my neck, the inside where the panel is, depending on how bad the damage was. But when they looked, it wasn't damaged at all, and that's why we did not have to spend so much. It was just the 1,800, and even that was very difficult. It literally wiped out our emergency fund. It wiped it clean. I mean, it's polished and everything. It's shiny because ain't nothing there. But that's okay. We're going to start working on it again ASAP, right? ASAP. We're going to start our emergency fund again. And initially, it was said, I think they said you need to have at least $1,000 in your emergency fund. And that was probably good, prior to 2020, right? That was probably good. But now that everything has doubled and tripled in price, I don't think a $1,000 emergency fund is adequate. I think your emergency fund needs to be doubled. Be double that, But even if you just start small, $10 here, $5 there, If you have a flat tire and your spare ain't even no good, and you got to buy a tire, you got to pay a tow. Do you know how much it costs to have your vehicle towed to a shop nowadays? Even if you ain't going that far, most tow companies want to charge you at least $150 to tow your vehicle 5 miles up the road. $150, right? So even towing is expensive. And then you got to buy a tire. Then you might have to get the spare fixed while you're at it. Emergency fund, emergency fund, emergency fund. Your starter can go out, your carburetor can go out. It may be something as simple as some fuses need to be replaced. And it could happen at the time when you don't have a dime in your pocket. I mean, look, you done paid all the bills. You done bought the groceries and you done gassed up the vehicle, and now you got $5 and your starter just went out. And you're like, okay, who can I borrow it from, or whatever, right? So if that's the case, maybe if we just start putting away $5 here, $10 there, that'll cover our starter, right? Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a believer in buying a book for my vehicle. So if something goes wrong with it, I'm a believer in getting under the hood and fixing it myself. I'm that person. I will buy the book to the vehicle. Remember when you used to go to AutoZone and they used to have that rack full of books for every vehicle that was available at that time, right? Well, I'm that person. You know, somebody want to charge you $300 to take your starter off, like, psst, I could get under there and take them 2 bolts out. I ain't gotta pay you no $300 for my starter. But but in any case, even if you have to pay somebody to do the repairs on your vehicle, you know, it's always good to have an emergency fund available, right? It's always good to have that emergency fund available, because you just never know when you are gonna need it, you know? And it might not necessarily be your emergency, right? What if it's one of your children or one of your grandchildren that gets sick and the insurance don't cover the medicine, and the medicine can be $200, right? That's an emergency fund. That's an emergency situation where you can pull from an emergency fund. And I'm not telling anybody to stress over an emergency fund. I'm simply saying, even if your emergency fund starts off with 50 cents, just start it. Even if you can only do $1 a pay period, well, just start it. By the end of the month, you got $4 if you get paid every week. Next month, you got $8. Just pray you don't have no emergencies, right? Yeah. So no matter where you start, just start. But you do need an emergency fund, okay? Because our emergency fund literally saved us. Literally saved us, right? Yeah. Because, you know, and to be honest with you, we don't like credit card debt. Even though we have credit cards, we don't like credit card debt, and we don't owe anything on them either, right? But the issue is that what we have had to go back in debt after working so hard to get out from under credit card debt, where we have had to go back into debt to get that thing fixed. Oh my goodness. I was dreading that. I did not want, look, I don't like owing nobody nothing. I don't like bills, you all. I don't like bills, especially late ones. I don't like them. And I don't like my bills being late. You know, I like things to be paid on time, you know, and there's some things that you can't help but to pay. But if it's something that I don't have to pay, I do not like debt. I do not like owing anybody anything. Period. I don't like that. I do not like that. Debt is another form of slavery. I do not like debt, right? In fact, I hate it. As much as I hate chocolate, I can't stand chocolate. I can't stand the smell of it. That's just how I feel about debt. I can't stand it, right? So I was so glad that we didn't have to do that. Our emergency fund is gone, but at least we didn't have to charge nothing. We didn't have to charge anything. Those cards still got a zero balance, and I'm so thankful for that. I do not want to have to do that. So now we just have to start back rebuilding our emergency fund. So you all, if you don't have an emergency fund, consider it. And if you say, well, I can't afford to do an emergency fund, well, when you had a slight emergency and something happened, well, what did you do to solve it? What did you do? You were probably stressed out trying to figure out how you're going to work through it. You were probably wondering, what are you going to do now? Yeah. Like, what am I going to do? I don't have the money. And now, you have to put yourself in a situation to where you have to ask to borrow money, which puts you in debt, right? And then you have to struggle and be stressed about paying people back that you owe if you had to borrow money from them. But the thing is that just do the emergency fund and you won't have to do that. Oh, that's Miss Kitty coming up behind me. Hey girl, how you doing? But yes ma'am, I'm here. But you all get off of there. But yeah, that's all I want to talk to y'all about. An emergency fund, an emergency fund, an emergency fund in case of an emergency. You need an emergency fund. Start small and forget about it. Forget about it. If you have a bank account, well, open up another bank account at a different bank and keep your emergency fund there. That's what we do. We got that idea from His and Her Money too, because they had all these bank accounts for all these different things, right? And so we have a separate bank account at a separate bank for our emergency fund, and whatever we put over there, we forget about it. Like, it literally don't, once it get over there, it don't exist to us anymore until there's an emergency. Ooh! Until there's an emergency, and then we're like, let's check our emergency fund. But thankfully, we haven't had an emergency. Thankfully, we have not had an emergency. Well, we did with our stove, but that worked out really good. Ooh, that worked out real good for us, right? So, but that's a video for another day. But that worked out so well for us, you all. But you need an emergency fund. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You need an emergency fund. So y'all, that's going to do it for this video. I hope I haven't forgotten anything about that emergency fund, because it's just so many different ways that you can look at that and how it can help you and your family, and not all emergencies are going to be big emergencies. It doesn't have to be an $1,800 emergency. Like I said, it could be a $20 emergency. I mean, if you broke, then $20 and you need it, that's, yeah. Right? It could be your headlight went out. And you may not have the money to get your headlight fixed, but you can't drive to work, especially if you work at night. You can't drive to work without that headlight. So what you're going to do? You're going to go into your emergency fund and you're going to spend the $20, $30 to buy the new light to fix your vehicle so you can drive to work at night and not worry about getting a ticket, which is going to cost a whole lot more than a $30 light for your vehicle, right? So just keep those things in mind. We have to, I guess, prioritize spending so that we can build an emergency fund, because that's, like I said, that's what Mr. H and I had to do. We had to make some adjustments, on what we do, where we go, and all of that. when we go. You know, being in the country, you don't just drive to town every day. Your car be on E quick doing that. So you just don't drive to town every time you need a carton of milk or something like that. No, we have to realize, because that gas is gonna cost us. So that's what we do, you all. So hopefully you just found this inspirational or motivational to at least start an emergency fund. Like I said, I don't care if it's 50 cents, a dollar pay period. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Something is better than nothing at all. And at least if you have an emergency and your emergency fund doesn't cover it all, well, at least you ain't got to worry about covering it all. You can just cover the balance, right? You can just cover the difference of whatever it needs to be minus your emergency fund. So just start small and start again, which is what we're about to do that, right now. We're starting over again. And that's okay. God willing, we'll start over again and we won't have no emergencies. And even when you reach your emergency fund goal, whether it's $1,000 or $2,000, well, you still keep adding to it. You don't stop. You still keep adding to it. Oh, I'm going to put this $2 in my emergency fund. Oh, I'm going to put this $10 in my emergency fund. You just keep doing it. You just keep doing it. Okay? You don't stop. Because, you might not have to put as much in there, but once you reach that goal, oh my goodness, it's always good to have, backup. Yeah. So y'all, that's going to do it for this video. Like I said, I hope you found it motivational or inspirational, because man, this struggle is truly real, you all. It truly is real. So y'all, that's going to do it for this video. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell. Make sure you select all notifications, because sometimes if you don't, then you don't get the notifications and you won't see the videos that we upload to our channel, okay? So thank you all so much for watching Homestead Heart. Peace and blessings and prayers to each and every one of you, and I will see y'all in the next video. She gone.